the First Battle of Geonosis. This battle marked the beginning of the Clone Wars. It became one of the most large-scale battles. For the first time, the galaxy saw the clone army in action. It instilled fear in the hearts of those who supported the CIS, and confidence in victory for those who stood with the Republic. I think all the fans know, or at least have heard about it in passing. For them, this battle is remembered as the first grand defeat of the Separatist forces. But is everything really that straightforward? In this video, we will tell you all the details of this battle, how it started, how it went, and how it ended. We will raise questions about why, unlike most citizens of the Republic, the clones did not consider this battle won, and why, even at the very beginning of the war, there was animosity between them and the Jedi, and in some cases even fierce hatred. Geonosis itself was not just one large factory planet for the Separatists. The planet was the birthplace of the Confederacy of Independent Systems. 2 years before the invasion of the clone army on the planet, Count Dooku arrived here. He held a meeting here with the then still simple coalition of systems that were wavering or had already separated from the Republic. Possessing solid finances, the heads of the systems invested significant funds into the desert planet with semi-intelligent bugs. The industriousness of the Geonosian workers, the rigid hierarchical caste system, and enormous financial investments quickly turned the planet into a vast factory with all the necessary infrastructure. And although the life of the average Geonosian worker did not change much, and in some aspects even worsened due to the slave-like working conditions in these factories, the local elite grew rich rapidly. The arrogant upper class wielded unlimited power and ruled groups of workers who toiled without rest at industrial facilities. Workers were deliberately placed in such conditions that it never occurred to them to separate from the hive and leave the nest with its system of total control. In addition to large subsidies, the bugs received knowledge that helped them achieve significant technological progress. Despite all this, the CIS stayed out of the internal life of the bugs, and the planet continued to be a place of migration for others, which allowed the Geonosians to preserve their traditions and culture. For example, the same gladiatorial fights. To avoid wasting the hive's resources on prisoners, the Geonosians held public spectacles in the arena, where prisoners fought with terrifying monsters or each other. Regular spectacles once again confirmed the unlimited power of the elite in the eyes of the workers, and allowed the roaring masses to release their suppressed aggression. Moreover, workers or drones were entitled to neither their own dens, property, nor even personal spaces. To save resources for the ruling elite, drones, when not working, were submerged in stasis pods and stacked, minimizing space and food expenses. In fact, the drones did not sleep but only slowed their breathing and reduced blood flow to their extremities. Despite their stillness, they remained vigilant and awakened swiftly when necessary. Due to Geonosis becoming the unofficial capital of the Confederacy of Independent Systems, CIS, this status allowed its people to become a serious and hidden force on the galactic stage. The Geonosian warrior army quickly modernized and expanded to the point where they fought in the ranks of the Separatists until the end of the war on many worlds. Despite the fact that their planet was essentially lost at the very beginning of the war, Obi-Wan Kenobi, tracking Jango Fett, discovered the planet where a multi-billion droid army was being created in its depths. He managed to warn the Council about this before he was captured. Along with him, Anakin Skywalker and the senator from Naboo, Padme Amidala, were also captured. In addition to discovering Geonosis, Obi-Wan discovered Kamino with its clone army, which he also reported to the Council. Now imagine the faces of the members of the Order, who somehow missed 2 massive armies being created without pause. Realizing the immense scale of the upcoming horror, and the understanding that this enormous army could spread throughout the galaxy, the Jedi decided to send Yoda to Kamino to urgently assemble the army and move to Geonosis, while Master Windu would take 212 Jedi Masters and head to the planet to distract the enemy and possibly deprive this army of its leadership. The briefing on Kamino was dire. There was no information about the number of ground or air enemy forces. The lack of any information about the planet itself, let alone the location of infrastructure on it, left the clone commanders completely bewildered. but they understood that the order must be carried out. A serious blow was also dealt to the morale of the clones. The bounty hunter Jango Fett, who was the progenitor of the entire army, and more importantly, who provided the clones with Mandalorian culture which united the entire army, suddenly turned out to be a traitor. For the Special Forces, this was the most significant blow. The entire instructor corps assembled by Jango were also considered traitors, and only a few managed to continue their work. The rest of the Mandalorians openly supported the Separatists and opposed the Republic in entire clans. Instructors for the clones, especially for the ARCs, Nulls, and Republic Commandos, were like parents, and so it turned out that an unfamiliar green dwarf, under the pretext of some higher abstract goals, was leading the children into battle against their fathers and mothers. Before boarding the transports, the entire clone army, gathering on the landing platforms despite everything, sang their anthem. Due to fears of a possible mutiny, soldiers of the Null and Alpha classes were delivered to the battlefield in stasis, receiving instructions and tasks directly on the battlefield. This was also done with some commando squads. Mace Windu's diversion worked. In addition to this, he was able to disable the planet's anti-aircraft defenses. The leaders of the Separatist Alliance forces had no idea that the clone army had already been discovered and was on the verge of surprising them with their visit. Count Dooku already understood the situation and had prepared escape routes in advance. Following Darth Sidious's plan, he prohibited the fleet from departing the planet. This maneuver allowed the clone army to catch the enemy off guard. The massive army reached the planet's surface. The Battle of Geonosis had begun. While the Republic forces were rescuing the surviving Jedi to hand over command of the clone units to them, the main army was landing on the desert plains near the arena. Meanwhile, the leaders of the Separatists, on Dooku's orders, hastily began evacuating the arena to their headquarters. The droid army had already begun gathering around their ball and core type transports. The nearest one was located in a broad valley to the southwest, while another was to the south and a third a bit to the east under a chaotic network of rocky spires where the command center of the Separatist Alliance was situated. Between these two clusters of transport vehicles were the Imktwi Hills, under which the Geonosian droid factories were located. On the far side of the hills stretched vast desert plateaus, at the southern extremity of which was the largest concentration of transport vehicles, stretching to the horizon of the Iyyak Desert to the west. Republic assault ships landed on and around the arena, as well as along the far side of the Imktwi Hills, where the clones established an advanced command center. The surviving Jedi occupied various command posts during the battle. Yoda took command of all forward sectors from the Advanced Army Command Center, while Mace Windu, Kit Fisto, and Echu Shenjon took command of critical theaters of war. Jedi General Adi Gallia and Siritachi commanded the Space Forces, preventing the enemy transports from evacuating. Regarding the number of clones and the droid army, it is very difficult to say as the data varies. According to the latest information, the battle involved 192,000 regular clone troopers, approximately 5 full corps, the 501st Legion, special units such as Nulls, Alphas, and all 10,000 clone commandos. The clones were sent into battle by a fleet of 20 Acclamator-class assault ships, 12 of which landed on the planet's surface, while 8 attacked from orbit. Additionally, there were several thousand speeders, several thousand TX-130 assault tanks, and a vast number of fighters. The Separatists, however, deployed only 1/100th of their army for ground combat, as their goal was not to win the war but to escape with their cargo of battle droids. The present Confederate forces included 60 Trade Federation core ships, 41 Commerce Guild cruisers, and 286 Techno-Union transport units. To protect these ships, the Separatists deployed 1 million B-1 battle droids, 100,000 B-2 super battle droids, 3,000 droidekas, 15,000 dwarf spider droids, or DSD-1S, 4,000 IG-227 Hailfire-class droid tanks, 7,500 OG-9S, and a wide variety of other ground and aerial vehicles. Squadrons of Geonosian starfighters also took part in the battle, as did an unknown number of Geonosian warriors. Beyond the warrior caste, the battle saw participation from multi-million hordes of worker drones, which swarmed the clones and tore them to pieces. Count Dooku and the other separatist leaders observed the battle from their command center, while Severance Tan took command of forces on the ground. In short, Severance Tan is a Force-sensitive Chiss woman who left the Chiss ascendancy to become a dark acolyte and the supreme commander of the Confederate forces during the Clone Wars. Shortly before the Clone Army invasion, she and several other Dark Jedi arrived on the planet to take command of the droids. To secure an advantage in the air, the initial targets for orbital strikes were the nests of Geonosian ships. With their destruction, the Republic managed to neutralize the enemy's numerical superiority. They were able to provide support to the ground forces, maintaining the momentum of the advance against the retreating enemy forces. The Republic opened 5 primary attack directions. 2 Republic corps moved south from the arena, each heading towards a cluster of landing ships, while 2 others moved south toward the largest cluster, one under the command of Mace Windu and the other under the command of Yoda. The 5th Corps advanced north, covering the flanks of Yoda's army and attacking from the rear one of the clusters of landing ships near the arena. The overall offensive was not planned well. Essentially, technologically advanced armies fought like in the medieval ages, face-to-face in open fields, where the winner was the one who launched more projectiles at the enemy faster. The Republic did not know where the Separatist headquarters was, so Yoda decided to attack blindly in the hope that someone would hit the right target. Such tactics led to massive losses, even despite air support. When the Jedi took command of their clone units, the situation worsened. Due to the Jedi having only close combat weapons, the clones had to disembark and engage the enemy at close range, causing some soldiers who had undergone decades of intensive training to take a blaster shot to the head without making a single shot or step. These maneuvers often led to the encirclement of units from which clones usually failed to escape. Some were shot at point-blank range, others were crushed or run over by enemy machinery. In the heat of battle, the Republic Hawkbat Battalion received orders to head directly into the line of fire of the column of spider droids. The battalion was almost completely decimated, but the company leader, K, Captain CS-6591 6210, managed to survive and took cover in small craters left by explosions to defend 2 severely wounded comrades. Surrounded by spider droids, he defended his position for 3 hours, until an evacuation team arrived to assist him. Gathering intelligence on enemy actions also yielded no significant results. Due to the chaos transpiring around, reconnaissance groups of clone soldiers from the Republic were sent in every direction. But lacking maps or navigation, they often perished. Due to poor visibility, they would fall into chasms, be torn apart by Geonosian carrion, or fall prey to the trained Acklays and Nexu of the Geonosians, who would simply devour them. Essentially, all the maps that the Republic Command obtained were made by the principle of laying corpses. The situation with special units was even worse. Mace Windu, having taken command of commando squads, sent them to aid regular units where they mostly perished. The issue was that these squads were prepared for sabotage and long-term operations behind enemy lines, but not for open battle. Essentially, it was a case of good weapons being misused. Sufficient information about factories and important military objectives allowed Republic forces to advance further. When the Republic began to break through, the Techno-Union and Trade Federation transports fled, while more heavily armored core-type ships stayed behind, hoping to complete their loading before escaping. Most of the Techno-Union transports were shot down by combat vessels or walkers, but about half of them managed to escape. This happened because Adi Gallia pirates informed her that the Separatists had called for reinforcements. Mercenary Captain Kavik Toth and his men were called to Geonosis at the end of the battle by Count Dooku, who wanted them to ravage the battlefield using deadly biological weapons. Adi Gallia and her Jedi pilot colleagues thwarted this plot and, with the help of her pirate friends, completely destroyed the mercenary squadron. However, this diverted them from their initial objective, allowing many Separatist transports to get away. Yoda noticed that a large part of the Separatist fleet remained on the planet, loading the last batches of droids and cargo. Exposed, lightly armored Techno-Union ships attempted to leave immediately, but were almost completely destroyed. Kit Fisto managed to repel a flanking attack by the Separatists on the edge of the desert, while Jedi General Echu Shenjon crushed Severance Tan's armies near the Separatist command center. Meanwhile, Echu Shenjon and several other Jedi, including Plo Koon, destroyed several core ships and craft of the Techno-Union. At the southernmost section of the front, Mace Windu was intercepted by 3 dark acolytes of Dooku who piloted hover tanks. However, Windu managed to handle them. Across the battlefield, armies led by Jedi were pushing the droid forces deeper into the planet. The Geonosians were ordered to take refuge in the catacombs and switch to guerrilla warfare. The Republic forces approached the vast networks of catacombs and impassable cliffs, with gorges and canyons. The initial assaults resulted in massive losses. Republic commandos and several Jedi, such as Ursa Mardu, seeking a path to the Separatist command center, were thrown into unexplored catacomb networks from which most would never return. In the canyons, clones and Jedi were attacked by Geonosians, who would leap onto soldiers in massive numbers, tearing them apart. Meanwhile, flying Geonosian warriors would extract pilots from the main weapons of the walkers and other machinery, hurling them from great heights. At this stage, General Grievous was also sighted. The Republic would only learn of his atrocities in these catacombs several months later, as he killed all witnesses, including Ursa Mardu, and her lightsaber became the first prized addition to his collection.